T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
I'm T-Dog.
Yes, sir. It's officially summer here at Sports and Other Stuff. Got the short sleeves on, got the shorts on. We're going. Hey, here's our headlines. There's a Manning on the move. And tonight, for you only, the prediction machine is back on. Tonight, the AFC South, we break that down. And in the other stuff department, our favorite ball game experience. But let's kick it off. Here we go. Lugs, T-Dog, good to see you fellas. AFC South, last year, Titans were 12-5. Your Indianapolis Colts, 9-8. Lugs' favorite team, the Houston Texans, were 4-13. And the Jacksonville, a.k.a. London Jaguars, were 3-14. How about this coming year? Let's talk it out. Here we go.
This is like the also-rans of the also-rans.
Wow.
The Titans, I've got them at the top, but it's a shaky sort of recommendation on my part. Tannehill last year especially in that Cincinnati game, three interceptions. I mean, this is a veteran guy, so I'm not so sure. Anyway, bottom line for me, I think the Titans will take it, and I'm saying 10-7. But so that's where I've got my number one. What about you, Dog?
Well, I'm going to stick with the Titans just because you brought them up. I have them being second, but to be fair to Lugs, I have the same record for them. I have them 10-7, but just missing the playoffs. They kind of like what Lugs said. I still believe in Tannehill. It was definitely a come down moment from his 2 seasons prior where he looked like he had found himself like later in his career. It's obviously kind of a trajectory you usually don't see where a guy entering year 4 or 5 all of a sudden becomes good. And obviously some of that had to do with when he was good, to be fair. Some of it was they had a healthy AJ Brown for most of the year and a healthy Derrick Henry. So again, I guess I'm cushioning his blow for last year, but also I'm guessing I'm kind of depreciating what he did maybe the 2 years prior because he essentially rises and falls with the talent around him, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I still like Tannehill. But I think the strength of the team is their defensive line. Jeffrey Simmons, if there was one good thing to come out of last year that I know was disappointing for being in 1 seed and being eliminated in the divisional round, but Jeffrey Simmons looks like he's the best young pass rusher. And Denico Autry, he had 9 sacks for him last year in his first year with the Titans. So that is a strength. But trading away AJ Brown led to their weakness. I mean, Treylon Burks, who I liked coming out of college, he looks like he struggled in the mini camp and OTAs. Not to say he can't turn around in training camp. Robert Woods, who is a good receiver, is recovering from a torn ACL, and he's a very smart and rugged kind of receiver. I think what I'm trying to say is I worry about him coming back from an ACL more than a lot of people because he's not like a exceptional athlete. Like when Odell's coming back from an ACL, he's athletic enough that if he loses something, he still should be fine. I don't know about Woods. Nick Westbrook, Eakin, he's a solid third receiver, but I just fear with the injuries of Robert Woods and maybe the up and down nature of Treylon Burks this year, he's going to be thrust in being a number 1 and number 2 option. So I think that's a problem. I think Vrabel, to be fair to Lugs' point, I think Vrabel is a great coach. He got that team to number 1 seed is great, but I just look at losing AJ Brown and their reliance and overworking Derrick Henry feels like their ceilings dropped, particularly with how the AFC in general is just so overwhelmingly talented.
Now wait a minute, fellas. You know these guys were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year, right? And most people have them at 10 plus wins this year. You guys are kind of dogging them, and you're calling this the Bow Wow division, Lugs. What is going on, man? You show no respect to the boys from Nashville.
Well, after that Cincinnati game, where, let's be honest, Cincinnati didn't have an offensive line at all. All that Tennessee had to do was show up, not make mistakes, and get a couple of scores. They didn't show up much at all, and Tannehill made major mistakes.
So they had their lunch handed to them, and they're overachievers, huh? Overachievers last year.
I think they did overachieve, but I mean, again, you could, if you want to say glass half full for them. I mean, they did that last year as a number 1 seed, where Derrick Henry only played half the year. I believe only played 8 games.
Yep.
So he should be back, and they got Hassan from Michigan. Maybe they work him in more, so they have 2 backs to maybe lighten the load a little bit on Derrick Henry. And Hassan is a bigger running back from Michigan, so that gives them a 1-2 punch of just power. And I know he struggled to this point, but Traylon Burks is a very talented player, and I think they're going to find ways to get the ball in his hand. So maybe he's struggling, maybe running the routes of the offense, but I think he'll turn around. I think to be fair to Lugs and myself, we still both had him winning 10 games, so we're not completely hating on him. I just feel, I think it's not so much that they got worse. I just think the AFC got better.
Okay, we probably spent as much time as any podcast will ever spend on the Titans in preseason. So let's move on. Lugs, you're I guess they're not your number 1 team, or whatever other team you had above that. Go ahead.
Well, the Colts, I've got at number 2.
Colts. All right.
They've upgraded at quarterback with Matt Ryan. But I'd have to say he's still got the smarts. I don't think he's physically what he was, but he will bring stability to them. And they've got some people. My favorite name, I get to say it, Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah.
He's coming in, and so that'll give him some toughness on the defensive line. At this point, they're almost neck and neck with the Colts for me, or not with the Colts, but with the Titans for me. I'm giving them 9-7, and I'm saying they're going to tie one of them. So 9-7-1 on the Colts for me.
9-7-1. That's kind of right. That's a stretch right there. Go ahead, T-Dog, man. Help me out.
I have them going 11-6. They win the AFC South. They're the only team to make the playoffs out of this division, in my opinion. I like the move on Matt Ryan. You look at Carson Wentz; he was very. He had moments, and I honestly, if you look at his numbers, this is the dangerous thing about numbers. He played well, but just those last 2 games, he fell off a cliff where they just needed to beat average to mediocre teams that were on the schedule, and they completely just bit it. Matt Ryan, I don't think that will be his problem. He doesn't have the ceiling of Carson Wentz in terms of making plays, but from a play to play consistency to being a professional to being a leader, I think that's where they get massive upgrade. And I know Lugs didn't like this guy. He feels like he is a very Phillip Rivers 2 years ago with maybe a little bit more left in the tank. So you had him, you had again Lugs' favorite player, Yannick Ngakoue, on the defensive line to be with DeForest Buckner. And they had Stephon Gilmore. If Stephon Gilmore returns to form like when it was with the Patriots a few years ago, with the new defensive coordinator Gus Bradley, they could turn the defense around and maybe being a force. I look at the receivers. Michael Pittman had 1,000 yards receiving, but he's easily their best guy. Like Paris Campbell has all the speed and talent, and just he has no ability to stay healthy. I hope he does, because he could be a big asset for this team. All of a sudden, maybe only having one guy I can trust at wide receiver, Michael Pittman, to having Paris Campbell and Alex Pierce, the guy they drafted in the second round from University of Cincinnati. He also is a speed guy like Paris Campbell. So you had those two speed guys with Michael Pittman, kind of their power, move the chains guy. They all of a sudden have go from probably the weakness of the team at wide receiver to possibly a strength. And usually you don't want your team to have this be your strength, but I just look at Jonathan Taylor. I think at this point he has the torch of being the best running back. He's not only a big power guy, but he's got 4.3 speed. And then behind him, you got Nyheim Hines, who is essentially a wide receiver who can kind of run between the tackles. So, and also with Matt Ryan, he's going to use Nyheim Hines. Nyheim Hines is going to be back to being a guy to be feared with Ryan, like he was with Phillip Rivers. Because just, again, Carson Wentz didn't dump the ball off or didn't.
And your prediction is what?
11-6. They're winning the AFC South.
11-6 there. Okay, but here's what both of you forgot. I'm turning it on right now. The film projector. We forgot Nick Foles is the backup of this team, man. I'm watching his highlights, and there's one highlight. He caught a pass in the Super Bowl. That's it.
That's all you need to say.
Well,
and now we can move on.
So Matt Ryan gets injured. It's Nick Foles. Lugs, man, can he do it?
Yes. I mean, he's proven that he can do it. So I think that quarterback, they have a tandem that, yes, they're secure in the quarterback position for sure. And a better quarterback is my number 3 pick in this group of losers. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I think now that they've gotten rid of Suburban Meyer.
Oh, wait, hang on. Say that one more time. You set me up for that. Wait.
Now that they've gotten rid of Suburban Meyer.
Thanks for the timing. Thank you.
Speaking of Nick Foles, they brought in the old Philadelphia guy who, with Nick Foles, won a little bit of a trophy there, Doug Peterson.
Yep.
I think that that'll give them some real stability, as well as just a coach that knows the NFL. So they've got people coming back. It pains me to say it, but I'm saying they will go 7-10. They won't have a winning season, but they will be much better than they were last year.
Which they only won 3 games last year. Okay, T-Dog. Jax, come on, baby.
I will say, I'll save the record for a second. I will say, I think Lugs' prediction on the record is probably going to be more accurate than mine, but when I went game through game, I just came to this record, but I'll get to that later. I'm with Lugs that Trevor Lawrence definitely has a chance to, by the end of the season, he should be the best quarterback in this division. So that's why their record should be better than what my ending record is, because like you said, they probably overspent in free agency, but they got better in terms of receiver, offensive line play, definitely coaching staff with Doug Peterson. And, I look at their linebackers with Josh Allen, UK's Josh Allen. I mean, he's definitely the best current player on the team. And their number 1 overall pick from this last draft was Trayvon Walker, who's a freak athlete who just didn't get to rush the passer because that's not how Georgia used him. But it's not to say he doesn't have the talent to. And another rookie, Devin Floyd from Utah. I mean, you watch his film. I'm not going to say he's going to be better than Trayvon Walker. I think at least year 1, he might be I think he has the potential to be like a Pro Bowler, maybe a Pro Bowl alternate, not an actual Pro Bowler, like how they do the Pro Bowl. Like 8 guys opt out and he gets in. I think
there you go.
Devin Floyd will get in.
There you go.
The reason why I guess I'm kind of down on this team though is I just look at their secondary. It's comprised of some solid guys like Shaquille Griffin, young guys like Tyson Campbell, and just uninspiring guys like Andrew Wingard. And the prospects of winning that division is just, I don't know. I have them going 2-15. I know that's a step backwards, right? I know. Well, I think